This courtroom feels heavier than usual, almost to the point of suffocation. The kind that sinks into your chest and doesn't leave. Sunlight streams through the high windows, dancing across the varnished wood and the sharp edges of the benches. Kody Brown sits in the defendant's chair, his hands clasped tight, knuckles whitening, jaw set as rock. Across the room, Christine sits poised, her lips pressed into a line of determination. There is no warmth in her eyes today, only the cold fire of someone who has had enough. The murmurs of the audience quickly fade as the bailiff calls the court to order. The sound of the judge's gavel echoes through the room. Every stroke seems to resound like a drumbeat of inevitability. "This court is now in session," he says, eyes flicking briefly over the faces of everyone present. The tension is palpable, so thick you could almost cut it with a knife. Kody shifts in his seat, trying to appear calm, but the flicker of unease in his eyes betrays him. Christine rises to speak first, her voice steady, but underlined with a tremor only those who have carried a burden for too long would recognize. "Your Honor, I am here today, not just for myself, but for the truth, for my family, and for every time I've been silenced, dismissed, or manipulated." Her words ripple through the room, drawing the attention of each sister wife. Janelle's hands tighten around the edge of her chair. Mary leans forward slightly, and Robin exhales almost imperceptibly. They all know this is going to get messy, deeper than it ever has before. Kody opens his mouth to respond, but Christine cuts through before he can. She lays out the accusations: financial mismanagement, emotional manipulation, and a secret agreement that left some of the wives blindsided and betrayed. Every word is deliberate, precise, a scalpel slicing through the careful veneer of their family image. The court reporter types furiously, capturing every syllable that could haunt them later. The tension doesn't just hover over Kody, it permeates the room. Janelle's eyes flicker toward Christine, betrayal and fear battling in her gaze. Robin's fingers drum nervously against her knee, while Mary's lips part slightly, as if she's caught between relief and horror. The accusations are more than just words. They are reminders of years spent walking on eggshells, pretending everything was fine, when beneath the surface, cracks had already formed. The financial advisor who handled the family's accounts is called as the first witness, and his testimony is blunt, almost clinical, but the implications are devastating. Statements that seemed minor in nature at the time, unpaid bills and unapproved expenses, secret accounts, now read like evidence of intentional deceit. Kody leans back, trying to mask his panic with a faint smile, but his eyes betray a storm brewing within. Every sister wife exchanges a glance, some silent, some wide-eyed. Each in her own way registers the gravity of what is about to unfold. Flashbacks begin to creep into Christine's mind, and the narration subtly shifts to past events, painting vivid scenes of hidden meetings, whispered conversations, and promises broken in silence. "I trusted you," Christine murmurs under her breath, voice heavy with memories. The camera of the mind lingers on moments no one else could see. Kody closing a laptop hastily as she enters the room. Secret documents shoved into drawers. Whispered phone calls ending abruptly. The courtroom air grows colder, the quiet hum of fans doing little to soften the tension. Kody's attorney rises, trying to regain control of the narrative. His words are measured, trying to calm the storm. "Your Honor, while these allegations are serious, much of what is being presented is circumstantial. The true story is more nuanced." But his voice trembles slightly, betraying the underlying panic that Christine's strategy has already triggered. Christine regards him, almost pitying the poor attempt at composure. Her plan has been in play with efficiency. Every possible defense or objection was known. Precise in her movements, she lays down documents, receipts, and emails no one could have foreseen. With each fall, a subtle yet powerful blow goes on to strike, no more than enough to make the audience, both in the courtroom and through the screen of a television, automatically lean forward. The tension is not just between Kody and Christine. It's between the past and the present, the lies and the truth. As the session wears on, voices in the room rise and fall like a storm. Christine's voice is calm, commanding, but when the story touches on personal betrayals, missed anniversaries, broken promises, emotional neglect, her voice cracks, and the weight of years of frustration becomes audible. Kody stiffens. Janelle covers her mouth with a hand as if to stifle a gasp. Mary's hands shake slightly. Robin bites her lip, fighting tears. The first day of court comes to a close, but the tension doesn't ease. Kony retreats to a corner, whispering to his lawyer, as Christine takes a deep, steadying breath. Outside the courtroom, the whispers start. Reporters, family friends, even strangers who somehow follow the drama, speculating on what comes next. The wives leave separately, minds racing with questions, fears, and the anticipation of the next session. And just as the gavel falls, Christine has one last bombshell to drop. A single line that freezes everyone in place. Your Honor, what I have yet to reveal will make everyone here rethink everything they thought they knew about this family. The words hang thick and heavy in the air. Kody turns white. Janelle gasps quietly, and even the judge leans forward, curiosity piqued. The courtroom empties slowly, the charged silence hanging in the air. Outside, the wives glance at each other, each with the weight of unsaid fears. They knew the next session would be more than just another day in court. It would be the day when, finally, the true story would begin to unravel. As the doors shut, the camera of imagination lingers on Christine's determined expression, Kody's conflicted gaze, and silently tensed anticipation for the next encounter. The stakes have never been higher, and now the audience has one unanswerable question. Who will break first, and how devastating will the fallout be? The courtroom feels different the next day, heavier somehow, as if the tension of yesterday has found its way into and been absorbed by the walls. Kody sits rigid, his eyes darting nervously toward Christine, who radiates a quiet, almost chilling determination. Whispers begin to circulate through the audience, but no one would dare interrupt this silent storm brewing inside. Christine gets up first, her eyes fixed on the judge with an iron determination. Your Honor, if it pleases the court, I'd like to introduce other evidence that will explain years of mismanagement and secrecy. There is calmness, almost eerily so, in her voice, while beneath it, the raw feeling of betrayal threads its way through every word. The judge nods for her to go ahead. Kody shifts uncomfortably, hands tightening on the edges of the table as he waits to see what's coming next. First, there's a set of letters and emails, private conversations between Kody and a financial advisor. The content is subtle on the surface, just normal discussions about budgets and family plans. But Christine carefully unravels each thread to point to inconsistencies, secret accounts, and allocations that never reached the wives. Her explanation is precise, almost surgical. Every word falls like a hammer, its echoes traveling across the courtroom. Janelle leans forward in her seat, her eyes wide, a hand quivering slightly as she covers her mouth. She had suspected that some mismanagement was going on, but the scale is shocking. Mary tightens up. There is anger and hurt combined in her gaze. Robin's lips press together, her expression neutral, carefully so, but her hands betray her. They fidget, clutched onto her purse in a grip so hard it nearly creases the leather. Kody's attorney stands up, trying to refute the proof. Your Honor, whereas these communications are indeed between Mr. Brown and his advisor, they do not necessarily indicate malicious intent. Many of these allocations were pre-approved, and his voice breaks slightly as Christine cuts him off with a calm, unwavering stare. Christine's voice rises, not with anger, but clarity that cuts through all the doubt. Intent? The intent is obvious in the results. The money that was promised, resources shared, all diverted without our knowledge. Every wife here trusted him, and every trust was broken. Her words reverberate in the courtroom, heavy and undeniable. The flashbacks come into Christine's mind, so well detailed and vivid. A camera of imagination follows her through years of hidden meetings. Kody typing away furiously on his laptop, whispers late into the night, envelopes disappearing into drawers, and hushed phone calls cut off abruptly upon her approach. With every slight betrayal, the viewers feel the injustice of it all, the ones that would linger silently, unspoken, and festering. And then the dramatic turn. There's a recording. It's a private conversation between Kody and an unidentified associate, discussing ways to manage the wives' expectations and redirect funds without any confrontation. The murmurs of the court almost sound like the crashing of waves across everyone present. Kody looks pale. For the first time, his cool facade cracked. Janelle gasps audibly. Mary's hands fly to her face. Robin leans forward, her jaw clenched, struggling to control the rising tide of emotion. Christine stands tall, almost serene, as the recording plays, each word hitting like a hammer on a fragile wall. The tension is thick enough to choke on. Kody's lawyer interjects, but his objections are weak, almost desperate. Your Honor, this is selective editing. It doesn't reflect the entire context. The judge raises a hand, silencing him. Christine smiles faintly, calm yet resolute. The context is years of deception, Your Honor, and it's finally coming to light. Outside. The wives exchange a series of glances, eyes wide with processing the magnitude of the revelations. I can't believe this. Janelle whispers to Robin. Robin's eyes narrow. It's worse than I imagined. Usually soft-spoken, Mary breaks into a low, bitter laugh, half in disbelief, half in sorrow. The courtroom is more than a place of law now. It is a crucible in which truths held for so long are forged in fire. The judge calls for a brief recess. Everyone files out, but the tension doesn't leave. It follows them like a shadow. Kody retreats to a corner, whispering furiously to his attorney, while Christine steps outside, takes a deep breath of fresh air, and allows herself a fleeting moment of satisfaction. The first blow has been struck, but the war has only just begun. In the recess, private whispers circulate among the wives. Christine hints at additional secrets, files she has kept aside for dramatic effect. Janelle shakes her head, trying to process the betrayal she feels both toward Kody and herself for being deceived. Mary's quiet anger simmers. Robin's stoic composure masks the storm inside. The family dynamic is fractured, not just legally, but emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. When the session resumes, the atmosphere is electric. Christine calls the next witness, a longtime friend who observed the manipulation and deceit over the years. Her testimony is emotional, raw, and incisive. She recalls events that, other than financial mismanagement, point directly to emotional control. Promises made and broken, encouragements toward silence, and the quiet manipulation that shaped decisions for years. Kody sits, his shoulders hunched slightly, as the witness paints an image of a man who controls the story. His eyes, once bright with confidence, now dart nervously from wife to wife as he realizes the walls of his well-constructed empire have begun to crumble. Christine doesn't leave one hole in her strategy. Each piece of testimony fits with the evidence, and together they create an undisputable pattern of deception. It ends with Christine's final, piercing statement before the gavel falls. "Your Honor, what you have heard today is only the beginning. There are truths yet to be revealed, truths that will make every person here question not just Kody's actions, but the very foundation of this family." The gavel resounds, and it is now crystal clear that this is not going to be any ordinary trial. The next session promises revelations that will shake the family deeper than anyone can imagine. The wives leave silently, the weight of anticipation weighing down on them like an invisible hand. Kody sat frozen, staring at the table, realization dawning on him that what was to come might change everything. The courtroom feels smaller today, as if the walls themselves were pressing down, closing in on everyone inside. The air's heavy with anticipation, even the soft rustle of papers sounding like the steady beat of a drum. Kody sits at the defendant's table, pale, his hands trembling slightly. He attempts to look composed, but there's a tautness in his jawline, a tension in the curve of his shoulders, which gives away the storm inside. Christine rises again, unwavering in her posture, her eyes scanning the courtroom with the precision of a predator about to strike. "Your Honor," she begins, her voice calm but firm. "What I am about to reveal will show patterns of manipulation, deceit, and betrayal that span years. Patterns that have caused deep emotional pain and fractured this family beyond repair." Janelle scoots forward, clenching her fingers into the edge of the bench. The corners of Mary's lips are pursed, and her mind is racing, images she had suppressed once more looming in her mind's eye. Robin stares straight ahead, her jaw clenched, her body tense, as if bracing for a blow. Kody's swallow is audible. His eyes dart nervously between Christine and the judge. First to come to light is a personal revelation. Letters Christine had found, written by Kody to an unknown confidant, in words tender, almost sweet, but sinister in their context as they detail plans of control, deception, and dividing the family in covert ways. With each word, it feels like a slow, deliberate strike that cuts deeper than any financial evidence could. Christine pauses for a moment, letting the weight of the words sink in. Glancing at Kody, her eyes become sharp, almost piercing. "Do you remember these promises, Kody? To each wife, ensuring trust, loyalty, and honesty. Where are they now?" The accusation lingers on, hanging in the air. The courtroom falls silent. Kody opens his mouth to reply, but words do not come. His usual confidence is gone, replaced by the unease he cannot hide. Janelle's eyes glisten. Mary looks away, and Robin exhales slowly, as if trying to steady herself against the wave of revelation. Then comes the emotional pinnacle. A witness who had once been a close family friend is called to testify. Her voice trembles, her pain palpable, from remembering the events that still haunt her. Nights when the wives were kept in the dark, decisions made for them without their knowledge, moments when Kody's influence controlled more than just finances. It dictated their lives. Christine is silent, her face expressionless, but inside, her emotions surge. She remembers the quiet moments of doubt, nights of whispered arguments behind closed doors, frustration at being ignored or dismissed. And now, all of it is laid bare, undeniable. Kody's attorney stands again, trying to interject. "Your Honor, while these accounts are emotional, they are subjective. Memories can be distorted. Perceptions can be misleading." His words trail off as Christine interrupts. "Subjective?" she asks, her voice tight with restrained anger. Tell that to the evidence of years of deception, carefully documented, with dates, receipts, and recorded conversations. Subjective is when someone invents a story. This is fact. The tension peaks. Janelle leans forward, her voice quavering in a low mutter. I can't believe this. Mary's eyes flash with anger, and Robin bites her lip to stop herself from speaking out. Cody's face tightens, his fingers tapping nervously on the table, betraying his inner panic. Christine signals the next piece of evidence, a secret recording that had been kept hidden for months. Shaky from the beginning. The words are unmistakable. Kody speaks with control in his tone, explaining how to influence and manipulate and redirect resources undetected. The wives hear promises broken, loyalty betrayed, and deception exposed. Here comes the emotional weight. Janelle buries her face in her hands as she tries to fight tears. Mary's shoulders shake. Even Robin, so stoic, looks away to hide her reaction. Christine remains composed on the outside, but her eyes glint with satisfaction from truth finally coming to light. The atmosphere in the courtroom is electric, a delicate balance between disbelieving anger and shock. Cody's attorney struggles to maintain control, objecting repeatedly, but the evidence and testimony are overwhelming. Every defense feels like a feeble attempt to hold back a tidal wave. Then comes the moment no one is prepared for. Christine calls the final witness of the day, someone who had first-hand knowledge of the emotional toll the deception took on each wife. Her voice quivers as she recounts nights spent comforting Janelle after arguments she couldn't win, consoling Mary when trust was broken, and silently supporting Robin as she navigated the uncertainty of it all. The courtroom has fallen silent. Shock, guilt, and anger cross Cody's face. The wives all glance at each other, their eyes filled with sadness and vindication. The truth is no longer just facts and evidence, but lived experiences, emotional scars, and the unmasking of a family manipulated from within. The session is about to end, but Christine isn't done. She stands up, her voice low and steady. Your Honor, the most important revelation is yet to come. What I haven't discussed will alter the course of this trial and the future of this family forever. Kody fidgets uncomfortably. Janelle lets out a shaky breath. Mary leans back, looking dumbfounded, and Robin's expression turns cold. They all know something serious is about to be said. The audience, be it in the courtroom or at home, can feel the tension coiled tight as hearts begin to race in anticipation. The gavel strikes, dismissing the session for the day. But the tension has not dissipated. It is heavy and oppressing as the wives file silently out of the room. Kody stays behind, staring blankly at the table as the weight of all that was divulged weighs upon him. Outside, whispers are flying. Speculations buzzing on what Christine has in store for the following day. The courtroom is thick with tension the next morning, the kind that makes every movement feel amplified. Kody sits rigidly, hands clenched around the edge of the table, his jaw tight, eyes flicking nervously toward Christine. She sits with quiet confidence, a slight gleam in her eyes that suggests she has saved the most devastating revelations for today. The air is electric, charged with unspoken emotions. Janelle, Mary, and Robin sit together, their faces filled with a mix of apprehension and anticipation. They each know this session will change everything. The whispers of yesterday still linger on like ghosts. And now, Christine's strategy weighs on everyone. Christine rises slowly, her voice steady, calm, yet dripping with authority. Your Honor, before we proceed with further testimonies, I would like to present a series of documents that show not just financial deceit, but emotional manipulation that has left long-lasting scars on this family. She lays the papers on the table with deliberate precision, each one a carefully curated piece of the puzzle. The judge leans forward, scanning the papers, his expression unreadable but attentive. Kody's lawyer rises, attempting to intercept, but Christine's glare stops him mid-sentence. These documents, she continues, are not just numbers or transactions. They are proof of calculated actions meant to control, to deceive, and to silence. And the evidence does not lie. Janelle shifts uncomfortably, looking toward Kody. Mary's lips press together, her eyes narrowing. Robin's hands rest tensely on her lap, her fingers interlacing in a tight grip. Kody leans back, a faint flicker of panic in his eyes. The room seems to be closing in, the silence between statements almost deafening. Christine then calls her next witness, a former family friend who had first-hand knowledge of the emotional manipulation that went on behind closed doors. Her voice shakes slightly as she recounts moments when Kody used charm and intimidation to keep the wives in line, to control decisions, and to maintain appearances while concealing the truth. It is a harrowing account, a family meeting where Kody flatly dismissed Christine's concern, belittled her opinion, and subtly worked the others around to his side. The wives look at each other, remembering the hurt real in the room. Janelle bites her lip as tears fill her eyes. Mary shakes slightly, trying to hold composure. Robin looks down, clenching her fists under the table. Christine lets the testimony breathe, giving weight to the words and allowing the courtroom to absorb the depth of betrayal. Kody's lawyer again tries to intervene, claiming objection to the emotional testimony. But Christine replies with an even-tempered, measured argument. Your Honor, emotional manipulation is a pattern of behavior. It is not subjective. It is a tactic, and its effects are tangible, visible, and undeniable. The atmosphere grows tense as Christine presents the next piece of evidence, a series of audio recordings. They are unpolished, shaky at times, but the words are unmistakable. Kody can be heard speaking with calculated intent, planning to keep the wives in the dark, subtly influencing their decisions and redirecting resources without consent. The courtroom reacts immediately. A collective gasp ripples through the audience. Janelle's mouth covers and her eyes widen. Mary leans back, her head shaking in a motion of disbelief. Robin's jaw tightens. Her hands curl into fists. Kody sits frozen as the color drains from his face while the recordings play. A quiet triumph glints in Christine's eyes. Her strategy is going just as she planned. Things get even more heated as the judge calls for a short recess, one of those that gives all the parties present a chance to wrap their head around the enormity of what has just been uncovered. Outside the courtroom, the whispers are incessant. Friends, family members, and even strangers speculate on implications, but none fully fathom the emotional toll. Janelle whispers to Robin through the recess, "I can't believe he did all this time." Robin exhales slowly, her voice tight. "We've been living with a shadow over us, and now it's finally out in the open." Mary doesn't say a word, her mind reeling back through years of hurt and betrayal that she had kept buried. Christine is quiet, a spark of grim satisfaction in her eyes. The first stage of her plan has succeeded, and now the emotional dismantling begins. As the session resumes, tension is almost unbearable. Christine calls the final witness, a person who had been party to years of private confrontations, arguments, and psychological manipulation. Their testimony dramatically illustrates the context of a family held captive not just by circumstance, but by active, ongoing psychological control. The sheer weight of years of deceit hangs heavy in the air, suffocatingly intense. Kody tries to respond, attempts to justify actions, but his words falter under the scrutiny of evidence and testimony. The wives exchange a glance between them, a complex interplay of shock, anger, grief, and vindication. The tension ripples through the screen, their hearts pounding with each and every revelation. Christine rises for her closing statement. Your Honor, the evidence presented today is not about mismanagement or neglect. It is about a pattern of control, a history of betrayal, and the emotional toll that has been inflicted upon these women. The truth must be recognized, acknowledged, and addressed for the sake of justice and the future of this family. The gavel goes down. People clear out of the courtroom slowly, and the air hangs heavy in silence. Kody is still frozen in his seat, staring blankly at the table, as the true extent of what is next starts to sink in. Outside, the wives walk away, each with their emotional scars and building anticipation for what Christine still has in store. The courtroom is silent, heavy with anticipation. It is electric, as though every heartbeat echoes through the polished wood and high ceilings. Kody sits at the defendant's table, his hands resting tensely on the edge, knuckles white. He hasn't blinked in what feels like hours, his mind racing through the revelations of previous sessions. Every secret, every letter, every recording has built toward this moment, the verdict. Christine sits with quiet authority, calm, almost serene, but inside, her emotions swirl. Satisfaction that the truth has finally surfaced, pain that it has caused, and anticipation for the final revelation yet to be unleashed. Janelle, Mary, and Robin sit tense, expectant. Each of them knows that by the end of this session, nothing in their family will ever be the same. The judge clears his throat, commanding attention from every corner of the courtroom. We are ready to proceed with the final deliberations. He begins. His voice is steady, but carries a weight that underscores the seriousness of the moment. Kody's lawyer rises, attempting one last defense. Your Honor, we ask for consideration of context and intent. While some actions may appear questionable, they were not malicious. Christine cuts in, her voice clear and full of command, piercing the room. Intent cannot erase the consequences. The manipulation, the emotional control, the betrayals, they are tangible, undeniable, and meticulously documented. Her eyes lock on Kody, and for the first time in the trial, he flinches slightly. The first testimony of the day comes from the witness Christine had previously called, the family friend who observed the emotional and psychological manipulation over the years. Their testimony is calm, precise, and devastating in its implications. They recount nights of secret meetings, arguments deliberately orchestrated, and moments when Kody influenced decisions without the wives' knowledge or consent. Janelle gasps softly, covering her mouth. Mary's hands shake as she clenches her purse. Robin sits with a tight jaw, suppressing a shudder. Kody's posture stiffens, and his fingers tap anxiously against the table. Even the judge leans forward slightly, noting the weight of the testimony. Christine pauses for effect, letting the words settle like a stone thrown into a still pond. She then introduces the final piece of evidence, a handwritten letter Kody had left, never intended to be found. The letter reads with disturbing clarity. Strategies for keeping the wives unaware of his actions. Instructions to maintain control. And subtle psychological manipulations designed to maintain the family structure in his favor. The wives react visibly. Janelle's eyes fill with tears. Mary exhales sharply, shaking her head in disbelief. Robin's lips press tightly together, the tension radiating through her entire body. Kody leans back, pale, the weight of exposure pressing down on him. Christine's face is calm, but her eyes gleam with the quiet satisfaction of the truth finally surfacing. The judge stops, looking over documents, testimonies, and recordings. His gavel lingers in the air like a sword waiting to fall. I have carefully weighed up the evidence presented to this court. Undeniably, a pattern of behavior, well-documented manipulation, and effects on all parties were present. Kody's shoulders slouch slightly, as if the verdict has already been written in his mind. The wives exchange looks, each processing her own emotions of relief, anger, and vindication. Outside the courtroom, whispers spread as the story of their long, tumultuous marriage has just become the headline of a lifetime. The final verdict is read. The judge's voice booms through the courtroom, based on evidence presented. It is the judgment of this court that Kody Brown is found responsible for the emotional and financial manipulations outlined in these proceedings. Reparations for any damages caused will be made financially, as well as monitored family interactions henceforth. The room responds instantly. Janelle exhales, the relief washing over her. Mary's shoulders loosen slightly, though her expression is still tinged with anger. Robin nods quietly, a weight lifted from her chest. Kody's face reflects shock, disbelief, and a grudging acceptance. The walls of control he had relied on for years have completely collapsed. Christine finally rises, her voice soft but deliberate. Today, the truth has come to light. This is not just about accountability. It is about healing, acknowledgement, and the chance for a family to rebuild honestly and transparently. The courtroom empties slowly. Kody sits for a moment, staring at the table, the magnitude of the situation settling over him like a heavy cloak. Christine steps outside, takes a deep breath of the crisp air, and feels the weight lift slightly, but knows the emotional journey for all of them is far from over. Outside, Janelle turns to Robin and Mary. It's over, or at least this part is. Mary shakes her head, voice low. Over? No, it's just a new chapter. Robin exhales, her gaze distant. But at least now, it's honest. The final scenes show the wives, their faces etched into expressions of both relief, sorrow, and personal determination. Kody walks slowly behind them, his mind now loaded with the consequences, the broken trust, and the reality that would never be the same. If you were in this family's shoes, what would you have done differently? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Would you forgive, fight back, or walk away? As the camera pans metaphorically over the empty courtroom, one truth remains clear. The secrets have been revealed, the betrayals have been unveiled, and the emotional toll of years of manipulation exposed. The family will now have to make their way through the aftermath, and every choice will be considered, measured, and deeply felt by all concerned.